Hello there, this is Joshua Ward with ZchangedMe, and in this video I'm excited to talk about a complicated topic: how to make love and relationships desirable again, or if it ever was. But intro first, see you after. Hello YouTube family. Got a crack in my throat, but I'm not stopping. I'm keeping on going. So the first run through I did this was pretty trash. So I'm gonna try to do this one more time. Let's do this again. This is Joshua Ward with ZchangedMe, and this is my channel. I'll have a lot of different things that we're talking about in this channel. We have relationships, we have personal growth, we have single dad, we have attachment theory and healing. But today's topic is gonna be about relationships, and then more specifically, how to make love and relationships desirable again, but even if it ever was. But let's jump right into it, because a lot of information. I did this before, it took me 16 minutes. I'm trying to get under 15. I can do it. Trust me, I got this. Background is crazy. I'm gonna start off with women in general with the changes, because the precedent in the past is men have been the ones that were the leaders in the household, and women were the ones that needed the man. So over the years, women have been treated bad in the world, and it's scary and pretty sad, to be honest with you, about how horrible things that have happened to women over the course of the years in the world. But America started doing better in the 1920s when they accepted an ERA, when they first started it. But what really had the biggest change, I believe, was World War II. When World War II came, men went out to war and got enlisted. And by that happening, who was feeling into those roles? Women were. And when women jumped into those roles, they started to get some freedom, some independence, and started seeing, okay, I can see why my husband does this and this. But then when men came back home from World War II, women were put back home and pushed back home. But some men gave an ultimatum. If you really want to work, then you know what? You want to work, take care of the house, you want to clean, you want to take care of the kids, all that you were doing before on top of working. And so women started to do that. And I think that was the beginning of the end. And so that caused the precedent over time to let that be normal, where women are working full time and taking care of their kids. And I think that built a generational resentment over and over, and just compounded over time against the men. So when women would tell their children and their daughters, I want you to be strong and independent and successful, which again, I'm not against. I mean, I want my daughter the same way. But the problem is they didn't teach them how to communicate with their future family and spouse in a proper way, because most of the time they didn't even know how to do it. Women are where they're oppressed and men were the oppressors. Sorry to say it in such a grotesque way, but how many times have the oppressed learned how to speak to the oppressor? Not very well. So they taught them to be independent, but didn't teach them or show them, model how to communicate in a way that is valuable. Because women started to realize after working, I mean, taking care of kids in the home is a lot more difficult than working. And take it from me, I'm a single dad, I do both, and I understand taking care of a kid is a lot more difficult, a lot more rewarding, but a lot more difficult than working. So men out there, when you see this video, like y'all think, oh, it is more difficult. Because let me caveat, the reason why it's more difficult is because you always have to think about the kid at all times. They turn the water faucet on, and okay, I gotta see, do they turn it off? Okay, did they say thank you? Did they get how they get their manners? How they start learning words, and you need to get on top of it and teach these things, and then and it's nonstop. So can't even go to the bathroom without them trying to come in and hey, can I do this? Oh, what you doing over there? I'm pooping. All right, leave me alone. So back to the situation, right? So but over generation, because of this built-in resentment and the teaching of the children over generations, women started becoming more successful and strong and independent. And to be honest with you, I think it threatened the men. And men started feeling threatened by this newfound power by women, because men didn't want to change. And would you want to change? If you're just going to work and coming home and everything else is being taken care of for you at home, why would we want that to change? But also, I think it also gave men, well, shoot, well, man, women can come home, work, and do all this stuff and bring in extra money, why not? But I think they had a point in time where they could have sat down and be like, all right, you're doing a lot of stuff at home. How can we balance it? And I think some families have figured it out, but I think majority haven't. And I think it's like the men and the women, and they're trying to push people back into the old world, which I think it would have been fine if we stayed into it. But because the can is opened, we have to learn how to adapt to the new world, the new environment, and that's going to be more balanced across the board. Okay, so that's the background. So where are we right now? Women now are independent, they have success, they're able to take care of things, and they're realizing like, shoot, I don't want a traditional role, which again, traditional role now is not just only taking care of the kids and taking care of the house, it's also working. They want the traditional role where you sit down and they don't have to do the extra work and then balance it out. And then you also have the other aspect is safety, security, and comfort. Women want these things, safety, security, and comfort. But the more money they have, the more they can realize they can provide these things themselves. So because they're so used to doing everything else on their own and they're expected to, their mind is in the world of like, I need finances and better life. And so take that and then compound it with a generational thing of like men were needed to protect and women were there to keep the house okay for generations evolutionary wise. And also think about households in general. They spoil their daughters in a lot of ways in a financial way if they're able to. And that kind of sets in their mind that finances is weighted heavy. But the last thing, which I think is the biggest part, is hypergamy. And I didn't know what that was. My male privilege. I knew that what it was. I didn't know what the term was. I knew that women think this way, but they want their level or above. And what's happening is as women become more successful, and women are amazing, intelligent creatures, as they become more successful, that means they have less people of the dating pool to actually fit that requirement. There's a small percentage of men who make over six figures in the whole span from 18 to 75 years old. I think it's only like 10% of people that make that much. So if you think about that, you have, and I think it was a statistic they showed, it was like 60 to 90% of women are messing with the top 10%. And so that's causing a lot of problems, which causing what's called the beautiful males. I like to call it beautiful males. It came from a study about these rodents. They had about 600 rodents in, I think it was mice or rat, I can't remember, I thought we'll say rats, in a community that had all the things they need, clean water, food, everything else they need. But what happened over time, as time progressed, these offspring started to make these beautiful males, which they were males that were bigger, stronger, and kind of nastier than the traditional male. And what they would do is they would break down the other men psychologically, but also and all they wanted to do is eat, sleep, and have sex. And so they would do that with the women, and then over time, women started to get treated bad because they were aggressive and mean. And then women started not wanting to procreate with these men. And they're these rats. You see where I'm going with this. So with these rats, and what happened was their beautiful ones start going through all the women. And guess what happened? After 300 days, it went extinct. And they did this study 25 times with the same result, which is showing a lot what's going on in the day age now. You have men who are the top 10%. It was like, why would I even settle down and treat you right? Because if you're not going to treat me right, I can go find somebody that will. Or if I treat me well, I want to be treated, I go find somebody that will. And then you have the situation where you have the incels, which is involuntary celibate. It's interesting that 40%, up to 40% now haven't had sex in the past year or are virgins. And so if you look at that, that means women are not communicating with a big portion of these men. So now you have a problem. Women are now to a point where they don't want to be with men because they're dating only the 10% that doesn't really need them. And so now they say men are trash, but they're trying to only talk to the people who are making a certain type of money, even though there's men out there who make less money probably that could be willing to treat them at a better rate. They won't listen to them or look at them. Technology and with Instagram and dating apps has perpetuated this problem just because the easy access to get to people. Now, what are the answers? I am doing good on time. I'm doing better. So, what are the answers to the situation? All right. For my daughter, number one, I'm gonna tell my daughter to get the Mrs. degree to a certain degree with some modifications. I didn't know what the Mrs. degree was, but the Mrs. degree was that women go to college to find a man to take care of them. All right. But I'm realizing now I want my daughter to be independent and strong, but I know that it's easier to build a relationship when you don't have anything and build something together, which will build trust, and the assets that you build afterwards, you'll start to realize, okay, we did this together. Instead of the situation where you do it yourself and then now you have your own asset. Well, I did this on my own. I don't want to actually, we're not bringing this together. I did this on my own. I didn't do it with you. And so looking for more characteristics of people who are caring, people who are willing to listen, people willing to compromise, people who respect individuals and yourself, and people who are ambitious and want more in life. And I think those are the characters you look for, and you find that person, and then you try to build something with that individual. And plus my daughter's gonna know attachment styles, which is gonna be crazy important to understand things. And I'll have attachment styles in here somewhere so you can kind of go to that video that I spoke about. Next thing is the value system needs to change. I believe money is weighted too heavily in relationships. And I think it's important, but it shouldn't be the main focus in relationships. There's other things, being treated well, balancing out other duties. Like, so how do you value taking out the trash or cleaning or cooking compared to somebody bringing in physical money? How do you weigh each one's problems? And we don't do that because we only focus on the money perspective. I think it should be a holistic look and start to look at. So I think women need to start looking at money so heavily in situations. Now, definitely when they start to create their own and they're having their world. Or a man needs to go sit down and be like, all right, women are more than just a pretty face. And so I think a conversation needs to be had to understand what people's needs are and find a way to make it work. And not saying there's gonna be one answer for everything, but as long as both people are on the same page and they're constantly being willing to look at it per month, every other month, to see where the balance is. Because a girl might want to be okay with cleaning, and then, oh, okay, cool, we cleaning, get married and clean, but then have a kid, the dynamics and the environments change. Cleaning and take care of a kid is a lot. So when those environments change, and periodically you need to be checked. Or if a man's like working and then he's getting heat that he might get fired, then he may need some help from, and so it's a balance, not a 50-50, but just try to balance and care for the individual and work as a team, which I feel like is getting lost. And the last thing I would say is therapy. I go to couples therapy. I'll say therapy's great. Therapy's great. Couples therapy to get ahead of it. Go every 3 months to make sure that you have somebody on the outside that has experience in the world, but also have a history of knowing who you are. And so now they can be able to help give you perspective beforehand, or if problem does arise, now you have somebody who knows your background already. You can just jump into it, tell what your problem is, and they can be able to help give you perspective. It's always good to have unbiased, or as much as unbiased as possible, perspective to give you insight what's going on. So these are the big things. I really think the money part is the huge part. I think we just need to come together and from that perspective, and I think men need to stop feeling they have privilege, that things should be a certain way, and start to get the hands dirty, change a couple of diapers, be able to go to the grocery store without asking what the list is, and cook something on their own, and just finding a balance. And so there's a lot of things with that I can talk more about, is about in relationships in general. I'm gonna do it. You can skip this and go straight to the final thoughts, but I'm gonna say this real quick. So what I've learned is that when I was going to my daughter's bathroom, and I was single, I'm single dad now. When I became a single dad, I went into the bathroom. I was like, oh shoot, it's kind of dark in our bathroom. She needs a nightlight. And I said, I never thought about that. One of the biggest problems with women they worry about with the house and kids is thinking about things that potentially could happen and trying to prevent those things from happening. If you don't get if milk is low, if you have one underwear left, you got laundry that night. And it's all these things you got to think about, because if you get behind in one area, it may take you 3 days to catch up. For example, you don't have milk. When the kid wakes up, then they start to whine that they want the milk that they usually get every morning. And so now they're taking a long time to get ready. Now you're taking them to school late, which also makes you go to work late, which means that you got to stay at work later than you could have so you can get the hours you need. And then you come back home and pick up your kid. Now your kid's hungry because they usually eat at the time where you should have been home already. Now they're cranky, they don't want to eat. And then eventually when you get them to eat, they eat, but now they're staying up later because they ate later. And so now they don't want to wake up the next morning. And then its cycle continues, and you can find a way to balance it. It can take up to 3 days to fix. So the stress of that being weighing only on the women is not fair, and I think that balance needs to be done if there's a situation where the person is still working at the same time. So, all right, I'm still around 16 minutes. I'm sorry, but I really want to put that in. Now, these are the answers. This video is a lot longer than I really wanted to. I might have to do this again, but again, thank you for staying this long. If you did, please tell me if this was beneficial or helpful, or any way I can probably make this topic more concise. But I try to do the best my ability to break this down to understand the climate, what's going on, and to be beneficial for other people down the road. Please share it to somebody that if this could be beneficial, and please comment, give me perspective, and thank you again for coming. Please have a nice day. If you have children, love your children, spend some time with them. Love your spouse, spend some time with them, and let's do it. Have a nice day.